My name is Anna. I'm little, but not too little. Last year, I moved with Mama to a big old building in Plzeň, a city in the Czech Republic. It was once a hospital a long, long time ago, but now it's a place where students live. Mama said it used to help sick people during the wars. Our new home was in the red brick dorm with tall, thin windows and twisty stone decorations around the doors. It had 4 floors. We lived on the 3rd floor. My room was at the very end of the hallway. It had 2 tiny windows, a squeaky bed, a little desk, and a closet that sometimes made noises all by itself. Mama said I would have a roommate, a girl named Eliska, but she never came. The people in charge told us she went to a different school instead. I didn't mind. I liked having the room all to myself. The first few weeks were okay. I played with my toys, drew pictures at my desk, and listened to the old pipes go clank clank in the walls at night. Sometimes I heard footsteps in the hallway when everyone else was asleep, but Mama said old buildings are noisy. Then one night, I woke up. My blanket had fallen off, and the room felt like a freezer. I could see my breath in the air. I was about to grab my blanket when I saw something that made me stop. Someone was sitting at my desk. She had long, pale hair. She was wearing a light blue dress that looked like it was from a long time ago, like something a nurse would wear. Her back was to me. She was writing something with a pencil that wasn't there. I whispered, "Hello?" But she didn't answer. When I reached for my nightlight and turned it on, she was gone. The chair was empty. My breath still made clouds in the air. It stayed cold for a whole hour before the warmth came back. I told myself it was a dream, but it didn't feel like one. A few days later, I met a girl named Lada in the hallway. She looked tired, like she hadn't slept in 100 years. Her eyes were puffy, and she was making tea in the tiny kitchen. "Do you feel cold in your room sometimes?" I asked her. She nodded slowly. "Yes. And do you ever feel like someone's standing right behind you while you're drawing or reading?" I shivered. "Yes. My room gets so cold at night," Lada whispered. "Only my room." We both knew something was wrong. That night, I made sure my chair was pushed in and my books were neat before going to bed. But when I woke up, the chair was turned around, and my book had opened to a different page. Another boy, Tomas, said his shower always turned to ice water exactly 3 minutes after turning it on. Every single time. Then there was Pavel. Pavel lived 2 doors down from me. One night, I came back from reading books in the library and saw him sitting on the hallway floor, staring at his door like it might bite him. "Are you okay?" I asked. He jumped. I think I saw her," he whispered. "Who?" He gulped. "The ghost girl. She was standing by my computer. I thought she was a prank. But then she turned around." "What did her face look like?" I asked. He whispered. "She looked sad. Really sad. And old, like she belonged in a black and white picture. Then she walked into the wall and vanished." We both sat in the hallway all night. Neither of us wanted to go back to our rooms. More and more kids started telling ghost stories. Irina said someone opened her drawers at night. Sasha said his books moved on their own. Milo said his toys were always in the wrong place in the morning. We started asking questions about the building. Mama helped us find an old newspaper. It said a nurse named Katerina used to work there a long, long time ago. She helped sick people during a typhus outbreak in the early 1900s. She worked on the 3rd floor. She died while trying to help a little boy right at her desk. People say she still checks on rooms at 3 a.m., just like she used to. After that, we left little gifts for her, a pencil, a teacup, or a notebook. In the morning, the tea would always be cold, like someone invisible had taken a sip. But the scariest thing happened to me during test week. I was coloring at my desk, trying not to fall asleep. The lamp flickered. Then the room got so cold I could see my breath. I didn't turn around. I whispered, "I'm just trying to color. Are you just trying to work?" Then, from the side of my eye, I saw her, Katerina, standing next to me. She smelled like soap and lavender. She didn't move. She didn't speak. She just stood there. And somehow, I wasn't afraid. I kept coloring. She kept watching. When I finally turned to look, she faded away, like a dream, right before you wake up. After the winter break, Mama and I moved to the first floor where it's warm and boring. But sometimes I still look up at the third floor windows, and I wonder, is Katerina still up there, checking on someone else? Maybe you? Hi, my name is Anya. I live in a quiet little house near the edge of Zakopane, a town in the mountains of Poland. I came here after my mommy and daddy decided not to live together anymore. They said I needed fresh air and peace. But I think they didn't know what was really waiting for me here. It started one rainy day. The clouds were gray and heavy, and I was walking home from the market, holding a loaf of bread and some apples in my arms. I was thinking about what game I'd play at home when I saw her. She was an old lady, standing all alone by the potatoes. Her back was bent, and her clothes were torn, but she was still neat and clean. She had one eye that was all white, like cloudy milk, and her hands were shaky. One of her bags ripped, and her potatoes rolled all over the wet ground. I ran over and said, "Do you need help?" I smiled really big so she wouldn't be scared of me. She didn't smile back. She just looked at me with her one good eye, and stared and stared. Then she said, "Dziękuję," which means thank you. We walked slowly to her apartment. It was inside a big gray building that looked like a castle made of rocks. I carried her groceries the whole way. She asked me if I lived alone. I said yes. She asked if I was happy. I didn't answer that part. When we got inside her place, it smelled like peppers and old flowers. I saw a little shiny rock on her shelf. It was oval and had a curved line scratched into it. It looked like a closed eye. She saw me looking and said, "This is for you." "No, thank you," I said quickly. I just wanted to help. But she shoved the stone into my hand and said, "Your turn now." Her voice sounded weird, like she was talking from far away. The stone was warm, even though my hands were cold. I walked home fast. When I got there, I put the stone on the bookshelf and forgot about it. Until the next morning. The stone was in my kitchen. I didn't put it there. I was sure. My heart went boom, boom, boom really fast. I picked it up and moved it again. I put it in a drawer. But the next day, it was on my pillow. I wanted to scream. That whole week, bad things happened. My cup broke. My socks went missing. My favorite book got wet even though I didn't spill anything. My dreams were full of whispers and shadows. I couldn't remember what I dreamed, but I always woke up feeling like someone had been watching me. No matter where I hid the stone, closet, cabinet, even under my bed, it would always come back. One day, I took it to the old coat I was giving away. I tucked the stone deep inside a pocket and gave the coat to a lady at the village shop. I walked home feeling proud of myself. But that night, when I got into bed, the stone was on my pillow again. I wanted to cry. I didn't know what to do. I went back to the market to look for the old lady. I asked the man who sold tomatoes if he'd seen her. He made a big sign of the cross and said, "Pani Vrona?" She passed away. "What?" I whispered. "I saw her. After Easter." He shook his head. "She died the day before Easter. In her sleep. Peacefully." My tummy felt weird. I wanted to run. I did run. I ran all the way home. I started to look up stories on my mommy's old laptop. I typed Slavic stone with one eye and bad luck ghost gift. I found something scary. Likho, a bad luck spirit. It looks like one closed eye. It moves from person to person. You can't throw it away. You can't hide it. You have to give it to someone. On purpose. I had been tricked. I couldn't do that to anyone. I couldn't be like the old lady. I was scared, but I didn't want someone else to be scared too. So I put the stone in my great-grandma's old wooden box. I talked to it. "You can stay here," I whispered. "But this is your place now. You don't get to move." It still moves sometimes. I find it in weird places, on the kitchen counter, on the stairs, once even in my shoe. But now I just say, "Go back to your box." and it listens, most of the time. Little bad things still happen. I stubbed my toe. My bread got moldy. A bird pooped on my window. But I don't have the dreams anymore. So listen to me, please. If someone gives you something that feels weird, even if they smile, even if they say it's a gift, don't take it. And if it has one eye scratched into it, run. Hi, my name is Luca. I was 5 years old when I saw the thing. It happened one summer, not that long ago, when my mommy and daddy sent me from Belgrade to stay with grandma and grandpa in their little house in the village of Chichmani. They said the mountain air would help me breathe better. But nobody told me about the creek. The first thing grandpa told me was, Luca, never go near the creek when the church bells ring. But I didn't listen. City kids like me didn't believe in monsters. We believed in bad people. You know, the kind who wear masks and hide in dark alleys. But in the village, they whisper about something else. They call it Drac. The Drac takes little kids who wander near the water alone, one boy told me when we played by the creek. He said it hides in the bushes and pretends to be something else. I rolled my eyes. I didn't believe him. Until that night. It was hot. The sky was orange. Everyone had gone home for dinner. I stayed behind to climb the big willow tree near the water. I wanted to show I was brave. I made it halfway up when I heard the church bells from the village ringing. Dong, dong, dong. I remembered Grandpa's words. I got a little scared and climbed down fast. The sun was falling behind the hills. It was getting dark. Then, I heard something. Wah! Wah! It sounded like a baby crying. I froze. Why would a baby be out here? Nobody lived near the creek. The closest house was far away. The crying got louder. I looked across the creek and saw a big bush moving. Hello? I said. Are you okay? And then, the crying stopped. All I could hear was the wind in the trees and the water moving. I should have run. I should have ran away, but I didn't. I stepped a little closer. Then I heard a new sound. Hello, it said. But it wasn't me talking. It was my own voice coming from the bushes. Hello, hello. I felt cold. My skin felt like ice. And then I saw it. Eyes. 2 big yellow eyes glowing in the bush. I turned and ran. Fast. The path became a blur. Then it screamed. Ah! It was the scariest sound in the whole world. Not a dog, not a person, not a monster from cartoons. It was like a scream from a nightmare. It shook my bones. It made my legs feel like jelly. I ran and ran until I tripped near the old village cemetery. My knee hit a rock and started to bleed. And then, I looked up. It was there. Standing on a gravestone just a few feet away. It had a dog's body, but it was too tall and too thin. Its skin looked wet. Its legs were long and wrong. Its head looked like a wolf, but not right. Its mouth was too wide and full of sharp, sharp teeth. And it had those yellow eyes. It looked at me like it was hungry. Then it took one step toward me, then another. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream. But I couldn't. I couldn't run back. The creek was too deep. I couldn't run around. The woods were too dark. And I couldn't go forward. The thing was there. Then it opened its mouth even wider. And then, dong, dong, dong. The church bells rang again. The monster flinched. It turned its head. It looked scared. Then it made a whine like a sad puppy and crawled back into the shadows. I ran. I ran faster than ever before. I ran through the field, past the chickens, through the garden, into Grandma and Grandpa's house. I was bloody. I was muddy. I was shaking like a leaf. Grandpa opened the door and didn't say a word. He pulled me inside, locked the door, and sprinkled salt on all the windows. He made me drink water with holy oil and cleaned my knee with something that stung. You won't be going out alone again, will you? He said. I just shook my head. That night when I went to bed, I heard it again. From far away, near the church. Way! Way! Only this time, it didn't sound like a baby. It sounded like me. The second night, it sounded closer. The third night, it was right outside the window. Hello? I screamed. Grandpa came and prayed. Then he had a priest bless the whole house and pour holy water on the creek path. After that, the sound never came back. Now I'm older, and whenever I visit the countryside, I always put salt on the windows, and I never go near the creek after the church bells, because the drac is still there, and it's still hungry. My name is Jacob, and I live in a tiny village called Žiri, tucked between big forests and pointy mountains in Slovenia. This story is about the night I met something scary, something real. Have you ever heard of the Bach? When I was little, my grandma used to whisper stories about it. She said the Bach hides in dark corners, waiting for people who are bad or who wander out alone at night. I used to laugh and say, "There's no such thing." But now, I lock my doors before the sun goes down. It happened one cold November night, when the sky was all gray and the wind made the trees whistle and moan. It was my son Philip's birthday, and I was supposed to come home early. But I didn't. I stayed at the tavern too long. I drank too much. I was mad at everything. At my job, at myself, even at my wife, Mira. She called me, yelling that I had missed our boy's birthday cake. I hung up the phone and had another drink. Then the tavern owner took my keys and said, "Walk. And don't go past the old mill." I didn't listen. I was too angry, too stubborn, and maybe a little too drunk. The village was so quiet that night. No dogs barking, no birds. Just my footsteps crunching the gravel. And my own loud breathing. I decided to take the short path home. The one that passed the abandoned flour mill. Everyone says that mill is cursed. That something still lives inside. But I didn't believe that. Not yet. As I got closer, the only streetlight flickered, and that's when I saw it. My shadow wasn't moving right. I stopped. My shadow stopped half a second later. I lifted my arm. It lifted. Slower. Crooked. I whispered, "Just the wind. Just the wine." But then I heard it. Soft, sneaky footsteps. Not like a person. Like something with PAWS, SCRATCH, SCRATCH, PAD. Every time I stopped, the sound stopped too. But I wasn't alone. I could feel it behind me. When I reached the old mill, I saw movement in the broken window. Something hunched, dark, wrong. It was shaped like a big dog, but its arms were too long, its head was too big, its eyes glowed green-yellow like a cat's, but bigger. "Who's there?" I shouted, and then came the sound that made my knees shake. Click, 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 like 1,000 teeth chomping together. I ran so fast I thought my heart would burst, but the BAUK was behind me. I didn't see it chase me, but I heard it. When I turned left, it turned too. When I went toward the churchyard, it was already there, blocking my way. It wasn't chasing me to catch me. It was herding me, like I was a sheep, a dumb, scared sheep. It steered me away from lights, away from safety, toward the dark forest. But I didn't let it win. I stayed under every streetlight I could. It never stepped into the light. It feared the light. But as soon as I left the glow, click, 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 it was right behind me. Finally, I saw my house, only 20 steps away. I reached the gate, fumbled for my keys, and then I felt hot, stinky breath on my neck, like rotting meat and dirt. I couldn't move. There was a low, growly R, 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 R behind me. It sounded like it had words hidden in it. Then, something brushed my hand. Fur, coarse and black. I screamed, grabbed the keys, opened the door, slammed it shut, locked it, leaned against it, heart going thump, thump, thump. Mira was ready to yell, but stopped when she saw my face. "What happened?" she asked, but I couldn't speak. That night, and many nights after, we heard scratching on the windows, on the doors, like claws, like something trying to get in. I found tufts of black fur stuck in our fence the next morning. I took it to the village vet. He looked at it and said, "Too rough for a wolf, too long for a bear. What have you found?" I didn't go to the tavern for weeks, but when I finally did, old Mattia was there. He's the oldest person in Žiri. He looked at me and said, "The BAUK. That's what you saw. It comes for men who drink too much, who are lost in the dark, and it tries to lead them into the forest." "What happens if it takes them?" I asked. He looked at me with eyes like old glass and said, "No one knows, because they never come back." I was lucky. Or maybe it's still deciding. Now I go home before sunset. I fix the broken lights. I hug my kids tighter. I never walk alone in the dark anymore, because the BAUK is out there. And maybe, just maybe, it still remembers me. My name is Michal, and I live in a little village called Zdr by the Tatra Mountains in Slovakia. I used to live there with my baba. That means grandma in Slovak. It was just the two of us in a small wooden house right by the dark forest. My parents were gone. They drowned in the lake when I was just a baby. So Baba raised me, all by herself. She worked really hard at a bakery in the town nearby. Her hands were always rough, and her feet always tired. But she smiled when she saw me. She used to pat my head and say, "You are my little wolf, my strong one." I loved the forest. I would go there after school with my old hunting slingshot. Sometimes I brought back a rabbit, or berries, or mushrooms. Baba would cook them and say, "Michal, you feed this family, you are brave." But one cold fall day, something terrible happened. That morning, Baba looked really tired. Her face was pale, and her shoulders drooped. "We don't have much bread left," she whispered. "I'll work late today. Maybe tomorrow I'll buy sausage." "I'll find us something good for dinner," I promised. I grabbed my jacket, my slingshot, and a piece of dry bread. The air in the forest was cold and sharp. The leaves crunched under my boots. I looked for something, anything to bring home. But I couldn't find anything. No rabbits. No deer. No birds. The sun was almost gone. The sky turned dark blue, then purple, then black. I was just about to go home when I heard footsteps. Someone was walking behind me. Not sneaking, just walking. I turned around fast and saw a man standing between the trees. He had short black hair, a long green coat, brown boots, but the scariest thing was, he was smiling. "Good evening," he said softly. "A beautiful night for hunting, yes?" I didn't smile. I didn't move. "Who are you?" I asked. "Oh," he chuckled. "You're Michal, right? Son of Daniela, grandson of Mara?" My heart felt like it stopped. How did he know that? "Yes," I said slowly. "How do you know me?" "I know many people," he whispered. Then he looked around the forest like he missed it. "I used to hunt here too, long ago, back when I was your age. They called me VUK, VUK. That means WOLF in Serbian. I'd heard old stories with that name, but no real person I ever knew was called that." "You're not from the village," I said. He tilted his head and stared at me. "I used to be." I didn't like how he said that. My legs wanted to run, but my brain kept me stuck. We talked for a little while. I don't know why. He asked about school, about Baba, about what I wanted to be when I grew up. Then he said, "Your Baba loves you very much. She always wanted your father to finish school too." "You knew my dad?" I asked. "I did," he said, his smile fading. "We were very close." I felt cold inside, like something bad was coming. "I have to go," I said quickly. "Baba's waiting." "Yes," he said. "Family is everything. Remember that, little wolf." I didn't say goodbye. I just turned and ran. Through the trees, over the rocks, past the cold creek. I ran all the way home. But when I saw our house, I stopped. The door was open. The window was broken. There was glass in the snow. I dropped my slingshot and ran. "Baba! Baba!" I screamed. I ran inside. Everything was broken. The table, the TV, the cabinets, drawers were tossed on the ground. And then I saw her, my Baba, lying on the rug. The same one we cleaned last Sunday. Her eyes were open. She wasn't moving. There was so much blood. I dropped to my knees. I touched her hand. "Baba," I whispered. "Wake up." But she didn't wake up. She would never wake up again. Neighbors came when they heard me crying. The police came too. They said it was a robbery. A bad person had broken in to steal things. And when Baba came home, they hurt her. They took her little jewelry box and some coins. But they took so much more. They took my Baba. I had to live with other family in Poprad after that. They were kind, but it wasn't the same. A few weeks later, I told them about the man in the woods. I said his name was Vuk. They all went quiet. My aunt dropped her tea. My uncle stared. "Vuk," he said. "That's what we called your father's cousin. He disappeared when he was a teenager, long before you were born. They found his coat by the river, but they never found him." I froze. "What did he look like?" I asked. "Short black hair," said my uncle. "He always wore a long green coat. He liked the forest. He said he wanted to live there forever." I didn't say anything after that. I just nodded. But inside, I was screaming, because that meant the man I met in the forest was supposed to be dead, and maybe he still is. But he's still out there, waiting, watching.